This is my unofficial top 50. It is a simple combination of positional value, my belief in the player, they combine for a ranking, and that is the list that you'll see on today's video. And now I can promise you that there's going to be a lot of shocking names here on today's video, and there's going to be some names that aren't on any other. Now my bottom 10 is on the screen now as at 50. This is a prime example of what I was just talking about. Emmanuel McNeil Warren. He's a fan favorite in the draft community. A lot of people have him inside their top 25. I'm just not there yet. That doesn't mean I don't think he's a good prospect, a good player. He flies around the field for Toledo and makes a ton of plays. I'm just not there yet. I don't see him as this top echelon game-changing talent that many other analysts do. So he's, for me, in my bottom 10. Above him, we have guys like Chris Johnson. A lot of potential there. He had an underrated combine. Casey Recepcion out of the Texas AMU Aggies. Look, he is going to be an explosive player at the next level. Could sneak his way into the first round of the draft. Darrell Jackson Jr. of Florida State. Nasty. I'm a Gators fan, so I don't really want to put these Seminoles on the list today. But Darrell Jackson has a lot of power to him, and I'm a big sucker for trench play, especially defensive linemen, so you'll see a lot of those guys on today's video. I think Darrell Jackson is an exciting piece. Logan Jones is the first name that you won't see pretty much on anybody else's top 50, and I don't understand why. Limited penalties, tons of experience, great PFF grades across the board. I think he's a very safe, high-floor player, and he's going to be a quarterback's best friend as far as deciphering defenses at the center position. As far as checking to the right play, he's going to be a great plug-and-play player for so many years, pretty much after he gets drafted, probably on day 2 of the NFL draft. Colton Hood at 45 is the second corner on today's list. Long physical corner, could sneak his way into the first round. At 44, Caden McDonald. 43 is Christian Miller. We'll come back to him in a moment. At 42 is Monroe Freeling. One of the true left tackles, pure left tackles in this year's class, is now getting a lot of buzz after his combine. Might even be a top 10 pick to my Cleveland Browns, and we'll talk about that later in the week as Mock Draft 2.0 should be coming out tomorrow, if not Thursday, of this first week of March. At 41 is Cassius Howell. Elite pass rusher, right? Tons of upside in that regard, but I worry about his 3-down ability. I worry about his effectiveness in the run game because, again, he can get after the passer, but in the run game, he can kind of get drowned out and forgotten about because he doesn't have that elite strength or frame that will keep him on the field. But for Christian Miller at 43, I wanted to highlight him because he's a player that, again, not a lot of people will have in their top 50, but he also doesn't get a lot of media coverage. A guy that was an explosive, dominant, powerful run stopper for the Bulldogs in recent years. I think that will translate seamlessly to the NFL level, and he will be a day one production kind of a player. So Christian Miller is at 43, and I think he should get a lot more buzz around his name. At number 40, we have Caden Proctor of the Alabama Crimson Tide going into the season. He was a projected top 5 pick, and I don't want to say he had a bad year, but there's definitely some other tackles that have a bit more upside, and we'll talk about those later on. But Caden Proctor is solid. I do think he will be a late first-round pick, probably to the Houston Texans. At 39 is Dante Corleone of the Cincinnati Bearcats. Another name that I don't see in a lot of top 50s, but he was dominant up front for Cincinnati in recent years, and he's my number 4 interior defensive lineman in this year's class. Brandon Cisse, athletic freak, out of South Carolina, reminds us a lot of Nick Emmanwori from a season ago. He's not the same athlete. I don't think he is the same player as a Nick Emmanwori, but the upside is there, and I can see that upside alone getting him drafted a lot higher than he's originally projected to be at this point in time. Keldrick Folk at 37, one of the best run defenders in this year's class, moves extremely well for being like 6'5", 6'6". At 36 is Bud Clark. Another guy that won't be in a lot of lists. Look, I love his floor. I love what he brings. I love his experience, his plug-and-play ability in many systems from day number 1 at the NFL level. And not to mention, he has a knack for finding the football. Mind you, he should have been, right, being a 6 or 7 year college football player. But Bud Clark, I love his experience, and I think he will be a day one production player at the NFL level. Maybe he goes to a place like Buffalo and gets the start from day number one. At 35 is Nick Singleton. Not the greatest combine, and there's some questions around whether he could be a bell cow running back. But when I look at the strict upside of the position and the player, he is that, right? I think he's going to be a day two pick. He is a ball of muscle, has the all the athletic tools that you want in a bell cow running back. It's just a matter if you trust him enough to do that at the NFL level. Regardless, he will be a very productive back if given the opportunity in the NFL. But here comes another shocker. At 34, I will play the sound, but I don't know if it'll come through for you guys. Long story short, Red Murdoch is at 34. I can bet every dollar in my bank account that he will not be on another list that you will see. Red Murdoch out of Buffalo is a violent tone-setting linebacker that can be the play caller at the next level. He could be a day three pick for an NFL team. And look, he forces fumbles. I think he led the nation in forced fumbles at the linebacker position this past season. He had 17 forced fumbles over the last 3 years. He has a knack for the peanut punch, and he's been dominant for the Buffalo Bulls in recent years. I think at 34, he's an underrated player, and he should get some more credit. At 33 is an experienced leather helmet kind of a player in Akeem Mesidor. He is out of Miami, of course, coming off his best season. There's some questions around whether the fact that this best season is because Ruben Bain was one of the most double-team players in the league, in the nation, rather. But Akeem Mesidor comes in as a complete edge, and the only reason why he would fall down boards is because he's going to be 25 at the time of week number one for this upcoming season. At 32 is Chase Roberts, another name, and guys, I'm not doing this on purpose. I promise you, I really love these players. At 6'4", 210 pounds, Chase Robert is a slot receiver. So he has a massive frame to him, and I'm not joking. In the 5, 6, 7 years that I have scouted players and given them grades and made videos, he is up there with the JSN kind of talents as far as route running and separation ability in the short and intermediate game. He doesn't have the greatest long speed, and that was on display at the Combine. But as far as Chase Roberts being a lighter version of a Puka Nacua, a guy that can just be a quarterback's best friend, let's say he goes to the Cleveland Browns or the Baltimore Ravens. He can play in the slot and be the best friend to those quarterbacks, creating a lot of separation and being a safety blanket for many, many years. I love Chase Roberts. The production is there. The tools are there. The only thing you worry about is the fact that he's not a burner. But ladies and gentlemen, let's not forget, not every receiver needs to be this athletic freak. Sometimes you just need those guys underneath that you can trust on those big-time downs. And I think Chase Roberts is not getting the credit he deserves or the coverage he deserves. I'm going to give that here. Give him that here on this channel as much as possible this offseason. And at 31 is Avion Terrell, maybe the most technical corner in the class. Moving into the top 30, we have a lot more hot takes here, I guess, if you want to call it that. At 30 is Chandler Rivers, a bit undersized, but I love his tape there at Duke. I think he would translate seamlessly to the next level, as well as Jermod McCoy. Last year missed it with a big-time ACL injury of the Tennessee Volunteers. Yuck. But as far as the athletic tools, they are all there for Jermod McCoy. He's going to need some time. I think he might not hit his potential until year number 2 in the NFL, given that cornerbacks take a bit, take really 8 weeks to a full season in their rookie years to be at their best. Jermod McCoy, I think, will be a prime example of he's going to need some time to really get his feet back under him, playing at such a high level. But I think as far as a potential, he could be a top 10 pick in this year's draft. 27 is Jadarian Price. He looks like Nick Chubb. He runs like Nick Chubb as far as his drip, as far as his just how he carries the football. He looks like Nick Chubb, and maybe that is skewing my ranking of Jadarian Price, but he has an argument to be the second best running back in this year's class, and I have no doubt he could be a bell cow at the next level. At 26 is TJ Parker. He is falling down my rankings more and more every single week. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because he's not an exciting prospect, but he's solid out of Clemson, and he's shown that at the Senior Bowl weekend, and of course he's shown it a little bit at the Combine. At 25 is Malik Muhammad out of Texas. I think he has an argument for the best corner in the class, and he cracks my top 25. Now, Gabe Akis, I see a lot of people coming around to it, but if you know, on this channel, I've been on the Gabe Akis train for some time now. He is at 24 on my list. I think, yeah, again, former All-State wrestler, a guy that is explosive. He's a great pass rusher. He has a knack for creating turnovers and getting after the quarterback as far as putting pressure on him, play in and play out. Gabe Akis cracks my top 24, and I'm happy that he is now getting the coverage that he deserves, in my opinion. At 23 is Emmett Johnson. It reminds me of Alvin Kamara. At 22 is Olavega Ione out of Penn State. True mauler in the run game. He's climbing up my rankings in a hurry, as well as Spencer Fanu at 21. A lot of versatility that he brings there out of Utah. But at 23, maybe it is my Gator bias, but I'm going to push this agenda as much as I have with Chase Roberts and Gabe Akis. Jake Slaughter, I don't understand why he is not projected to be at least a round 2 pick. This is a guy that has multiple years of experience for the Florida Gators. He was the only constant good thing that we've had in that Billy Napier era. He is such a great communicator. He was a PFF first-team All-American just 2 seasons ago. He's elite in pass production. He's only had 1 penalty and 1 sack allowed in recent years. Jake Slaughter, I just don't understand why the hype train is not behind him. So that is my job here, is to highlight a player that I think could be a gem at the next level. Now, speaking of a gem, it's Dylan Thieneman. Perhaps no player in this entire draft process has gone up my rankings faster than the man in the middle of your screen. In the middle of the offseason, I had a former collegiate cornerback by the name of Amir Stewart, great friend of mine, longtime friend. He saw the juice and the potential in a Dylan Thieneman very early on, and I kind of pushed it off. I said, okay, let's hold our horses. I want to see this entire class before I get on this train. I think it's too late for me to even buy a ticket. He's explosive, man. He had a great combine with a 4.3 40, over a 40-inch vertical, but his production was there. For Oregon over the last 3 years, he has averaged 100 tackles per season. He's also had a total of 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, I think like 8 interceptions, if not more. He has a knack for making play in and play out a dramatic difference on the game. So Dylan Thieneman is at 15. I went out of order there, but we had to highlight him first. 20 through 16 goes as follows. We have C.J. Allen at 20, Lee Hunter, their big man, super athletic, of the Texas Tech Raider defense, at 19. Mansour Delaney at 18. Caleb Banks, go Gators, at 17, strictly because I think he has the highest upside of any interior defensive lineman in the class. And Carnell Tate at 16. Above Thieneman, we have Kenyon Sadiq, his teammate. Excited to see where he goes in the draft. We have Francis Maui Noah, probably the best overall tackle in the class, at 13. Mekhi Lemon, my favorite personal wide receiver, and David Bailey at number 11. Ladies and gentlemen, we're almost there. Let's get into the top 10. Moving into the top 10, I want to highlight Jacob Rodriguez as let's first get to the rest of the list. At number 10, we have Jordan Tyson. Outside of his medicals, he's by far and away the best prospect at receiver in this entire class. Let's move on. Peter Woods, it was a down year, and he had a really frustrating combine as far as he showed up underweight and he didn't want to test, but I know what I saw on tape, and what I saw on tape was a guy that is super athletic. He has a great anchor in the run game. I just hope that his motivation is there to be as great as what we've seen on tape in recent years. Overall, he's at number 9 on my big board. And number 8 is a shocker in Anthony Hill. Look, I love him. He's not a Mike linebacker like some of the guys above him, but as far as flying around the field, making a ton of plays, being maybe the best linebacker in coverage in this entire class, Anthony Hill is incredibly smart, and he might check that box I mentioned a moment ago. Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles, incredible combines, former teammates at Ohio State. They come in at 6 and 7. At number 4, above Rodriguez, is Ruben Bain. Look, he has short arm concerns. I'm not really worried about it. I think he's going to be a dominant player at the next level, and he could go as high as the first non-quarterback in this year's class at number 2 to the New York Jets. Mendoza comes in at 3, Caleb Downs at 2, and Jeremiah Love at number 1. I think he is quite literally a generational prospect at the running back position. But at number 5, we have Jacob Rodriguez. He was the Butkus Award winner last season. He was, in my opinion, America's Heisman as far as, well, who really, if the fans had a vote, I think that's who they would have voted on to win the actual award. but 250 total tackles each of the last 2 seasons, at 6 sacks, 10 forced fumbles, 5 interceptions. He does everything. The only worry about Jacob Rodriguez is that he's only 6'1". He's a bit short, but outside of that, man, he is a blast to watch, and I would love for my Cleveland Browns to draft him, even though that's not a position of need for us. But that's it. My first rendition of my top 50 big board. Quick, fast, and in a hurry because I know you guys are busy people. I do want to say this. If you love NFL draft content, we are this close to 100 subscribers on the channel. This is a backup channel, so of course it's a relatively new. If you guys want to help us get there, we pump out free content every single week for absolutely free. I don't charge you with anything. I don't run any ads. All I ask for is a little bit of support. But as always, get in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts and some players that I may be underlooking.